Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Chris here from Esports News, back at it again with another video. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys a quick recap as to what happened during today's matches, my time, that of course being Thursday's matches, as well as what you guys can expect going to today's matches, your time, that of course being Friday's matches. Now, looking at our first matchup of the day, we of course kick things off with the New York Subliners taking on the Paris Legion. You guys know I was backing the Subliners side to, of course, have a big-time regain series after Diamond Khan was slotted in for Clayster. A super quick fill-in about 2 days ago. They had 2 days of practice with Khan, and they won the series 3-2. So, not what I was expecting, but Subliners got the job done. Now, let's get into the stats. This series was honestly really interesting. The first map, that of course being Gary Hardpoint, went down to the wire. It was 250 to 244 in favor of the Subliners. Sorry if you guys heard that. That was just my AC unit kicking on. It's like right next to my room. So what are you going to do? Of course, looking at the Subliners KDs, Asen put up a very solid performance playing his role. He had a .97. Diamond had a rough map. He had a .76. Mac had a .52. And Wako Paco, the hard carry, had a 1.71 KD. Jesus Christ, man went 36 and 21 to will his team to a victory. Good Lord, Waco's in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Wako, Wako, Wako. Wow. And looking at the Legion side, Aqua had a 1.08, Scraps had a .79, Temp had a 1.3, and Zap had a 1.12. So realistically, looking at the KDs, Paris definitely should have won this map. And watching the map, NYSL made the comeback down like 230-ish to 114, something like that. The game was 100% over, and then they brought it back in the next roadie. They chained P3, no, they chained P4 to P5 to P1 to P2, where they closed it out, which was insane. They just got all four of those hills back to back, and Paris got 13 points. It was like I think 130 to 13 run or something like that. It was absolutely insane. Subliners were so icy at the end of that. I mean, it was just a crazy map one, and it was a fire way to kick off the day and the series. So Subliners took that as they should. Hydra, he went into Wako mode and he just went crazy, man. So they deserved that win and they walked away with it for sure. Now, on the second map, that of course being Moscow S&D, Subliners lost it in round 11. ASIM had a .67. Diamond had a .78, Mac had a 1.38, and Hydra had a 1.13. Mac was going crazy in the map too. He had some crazy clutches. It was like 1v2, I think. I mean, the guy was just frying. He was just getting 2 pieces, 3 pieces, you name it, just going crazy for the subliners. He had a map. And then on the Legion side, everybody pretty much did their job, and that's why they won. They played as a team, and they played very intelligently and very well. Aqua had an even KD. Temp also had an even KD. And then Scraps had a .56 and Zap had a 1.63. So Zap carried them to that map win essentially, and they looked great on the map too. Of course, that being Moscow S&D. That's consistently been a pretty decent map for the Legion. They don't win it every time, but they put up a valiant effort when they do play Moscow S&D. Usually they play pretty tight if they lose, and sometimes they do win it. So not really too surprising I'm seeing them win a map that they've been somewhat solid at throughout the year. They showed a lot of signs of life at different points, and there it is. So on to the map three, that of course being Gary Control. Asim had a 1.17, Diamond had a .85, Mac had a 1.56, and Hydra had a .84. I know I pronounce his name both ways. I don't know why. Sometimes it's Asim, sometimes it's Asim, but what are you gonna do? Of course, on the Legion side, everybody played well. Zap and Aqua played really well. Aqua had a 1.65, Zap had a 1.22, and then you had Temp and Scraps in the middle with a .52 and a .63 respectively. So not a great showing from Temp and Scraps. Scraps just didn't have the best of series today, and that happens. Like I always say, Call of Duty is very day to day. Regardless, Subliners walked away with a 3-1 on Gary. They really needed that because they've been getting absolutely tucked in controls this entire stage. No disrespect to the Subliners, but it's just been a rough go for them. So happy to see them pull it out and win a control because they've been having really hard time with that lately. Of course, looking at the map for that being A point, APOC hard point, as we all expected, Subliners lost this one 250, 124. This is a map that's really a toss-up for them. Sometimes they look pretty decent on it and they keep it competitive, but I do believe that they win this. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I think they win this map more than they lose it in the standings, but when they lose it really, really convincingly, like you saw here. So looking at the stats, Asim had a .75, Diamond had a .62, Mac had a .94, and Hydra went even. And then on the Legion side, Aqua had a 1.69, Temp had a 1.06, Scraps had an even KD, and Zap was frying with a 1.33. So Zap and Aqua, they played really well map 3, and then they followed it up map 4, and that really helped to will Paris to this win on map 4, bringing us to a game 5 where we closed it out. And of course, the subliners closed it out on Standoff S&D. You guys know I love seeing Standoff for the subliners. I love this in their rotation and their map pool. This is a really, really good map to play other teams on because there are a lot of teams who are really bad at it. And then teams like Optic and FaZe, they're really good at it, right? Like the best teams are really good at Standoff S&D. And it's a very good metric for looking at who the better teams are in the game. Looking at the stats, of course, Asim had a 1.4, Diamond had a 2 even KD, while Mac had a 3 KD, and Hydra went even. On the Legion side, obviously everybody got tucked to bed. Aqua had a 0.57, Scraps had a 0.83, Temp had a 0.43, and Zap had a 0.5. So great showing for FaZe. FaZe. Oh my god, I'm blasted. I almost said stream, guys. I'm falling apart. Long day at work. um, so great showing from the subliners. Excuse me if I can get my teams right. Good God, get it together, man. Looking at the series, KD, of course, Asim had a 0.97, Diamond had a 0.79, Mac had a 1.07, and Hydra was absolutely obliterating with a 1.19. On the Legion side, Aqua had himself a day. He had a 1.27. Scraps had a rough go of it. He had a 0.74. Temp had a 0.93. And Zapdius had a very, very respectable 1.19. So honestly, the Legion, Scraps and Temp, it was on them today. That's just what it is. Diamond, of course, he was just being slotted into this roster, and he's the new man being added into the mix. So it could be expected for him to not necessarily have the best of days. Either it would go either one of two ways, right? With him coming back into the fold, either he fried everybody and he had like a 1.5 KD, or he got fried and he had a 0.7, which is what happened. So, you know, can't be mad at that. His first day back in the pro league. I think in their next matchup, he will have a good performance, but they play FaZe next. So there it is. Yeah. So that's the series. MYSL 132, of course, as I said before. Great performance from them and definitely a great rebound after having such a rough start to stage 5, going 0-3, after being one of the top teams in this game, right? They were just second seed going into Major 4, I believe. And they looked to be clicking on all cylinders up until they had to, of course, put Asim on the bench for Desi with the visa issues. And it's nice to see them kind of getting back in the win column and starting to get that momentum back. Obviously, I don't think they beat FaZe, especially in the form that FaZe is in after losing Optic. They're definitely going to be out for blood. And Subliners are pretty much on the downturn right now. So I think with that in mind, it's definitely going to be a win for FaZe. But the subliners are starting to look a little bit better. I think that maybe Clay taking a break helped them to kind of let some of the air out the balloon, and hopefully they can come back stronger at the major. I know I'm like over talking this, but I just wanted to give you guys my honest thoughts. Of course, looking at our next series, we had Optic Chicago taking on the London Royal Ravens. And you guys know the rules. One bite, everybody knows the rules. Just jokes. You guys know the rules. No 3-0s. We don't review stats on 3-0s, just the series stats. So this is going to be a pretty quick one. Optic, they obviously 3-0'd the London Royal Ravens. The raid, raid hardpoint was very close. It was 250 to 207, as we're well accustomed to. Raid is typically a very close hardpoint, and the games are usually within about 50 to 75 points. Anything above 75 points on raid can be considered a blowout, where usually it would be considered somewhat close on other maps. It's just raid usually lends itself to being a last hill kind of map. That's just how it plays out. And usually it ends on P5 or P1. So this scoreline is not too surprising. Good to see that London was able to hang with Optic Chicago boys. And this is encouraging for them, I guess, going into next season. They're not going to have a great placement going into the major, but going into next season, this definitely helps the stock of players like Afro and, of course, Paul X. Shawnee and Alex, I just don't know. They're vets, and they've been having a rough go of it the last few weeks. So we'll see how that helps their stock going into free agency. But I don't know what to think. And I don't really have a lot of specific insight on this series. I was working today. It's a work day for me, regular weekday. So I didn't have the opportunity to watch this match. I was able to watch New York versus, of course, Paris, but I missed this one. Looking at the stats, Scump, of course, had a 1.22, Formal had a 1.14, Envoy had a 1.13, and Dashy was frying, man, had a 1.44. Let's go, Bruce. Okay, I see you. And then looking at the Ravens, Afro was the only player positive with a 1.09, Shawnee had a 0.84, Paul had a 0.91, and Alex had a 0.5. So, I mean, that's an abysmal series for Alex. Minus 35, like that's a stinker. I don't have anything else to add after that. I mean, minus 35, brother. That's it. I mean, on to the next. Looking at tomorrow's matches, we of course kick things off with the Ultra taking on the Mutineers, and I think it's a 3-1 for the Ultra. Mutineers are a great, great team. Don't get me wrong, but I just think the Ultra they are a tier above even Dallas right now. I think Ultra is one of the only S tier teams in the game right now. One of the only teams that can rival FaZe, and I'm adding Optic into that conversation now. So my top three skill wise, I would say Optic, FaZe, Ultra, and Empire is a very, 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 very close fourth. I think Empire's right there. I think they just have consistency issues. If they lost to Florida, then realistically, a team like Optic, Toronto, or FaZe could beat them in that same form, in my mind. So I'm thinking that this match will be very telling, right? If Florida can somehow topple the Ultra tomorrow, which is possible, they've been playing very, very well. This will tell me a lot about this Florida team and how they're going to look at the end of the year. But as it stands, given just how the season's played out and how the last few weeks have gone for the Toronto Ultra, shout out to the Squirrel Boys. I don't know when I realized the logo was a squirrel, but if you didn't know, now you know. There it is, right there, the squirrel. Hope you see it now. Yeah, I think the Ultra Boys walk away with the 3-1 here. I just think that they're too much right now, right? Like they're an upper echelon team right there trying to compete with FaZe. And I think they're better than Optic right now as it stands too. So, excuse me. I think this series will be very telling. Mutineers might be able to squeak out the win. They've been playing extremely, extremely well. They did beat Dallas, and they beat them pretty convincingly. And, we'll see if they can keep it going against a team like the Mutineers. But as it stands, like I've said about 8 times, I think it's a 3-1 for Toronto. But I just get that weird feeling, man. I feel like Florida's going to come out tomorrow and they're going to play them tight. There's a good chance they take the series, but I'm gonna go with my brain here and say Toronto 3-1. Now in our last match of the day, we have Empire taking on Surge, and that's gonna end the video. No, I'm kidding. I think it's gonna be a 3-0 for the Empire. Surge or Surge. Like it's the end of the year, they're chalked. They can't make champs. They can't really have a good placement going into, of course, stage 5 major. I don't think they have a chance of even getting winners bracket. So they're ultra chalk, no pun intended. With my background. So I think 3-0 for the Empire and 3-1 for the Ultra, of course. And I think that's how the day goes. I think Ultra Empire is the move. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for me, guys. Now I'll catch you guys on the next video. Once again, this is Chris from Sports News, and I'm signing off. Hope you guys have a great morning, noon, or night, wherever you may be on this beautiful planet. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. These shadows, man. Peace.